He's a journalist who spent nearly 2 years in jail, and finally, the Supreme Court has intervened. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. And today, we bring you the story of Siddique Kappan. Siddique Kappan, a journalist from Kerela, was on his way to Hathras in Uttar Pradesh to report, as we all did, on the gang rape and murder of a young Dalit woman who was cremated forcibly without her family's consent. But on charges of being linked to the PFI, he was put away. His daughter Mehnaz, you see her in the pictures there, is among those, along with his wife Raihanath, who has been campaigning non-stop for justice. And today, glimmers of that justice seemed visible when no less than the Chief Justice of India, Chief Justice Lalit, said, everyone has the right to free speech. You see there Mehnaz, the 9-year-old daughter of Siddique Kappan, finally smiling as she sits in her lawyer's office after the news that her father will be coming out. And let's not forget, this is the story that Siddique Kappan went to report. The horrific gang rape and murder of a Dalit woman who, as I mentioned, was cremated forcibly in the dead of night without the consent of her family. But instead of the focus being on that, the state made Siddique Kappan into an enemy of the state. Joining us on the program today is Advocate Harris Beeran, the lawyer for Mr. Kappan, and also joining us are his wife Raihanath and his daughter Mehnaz. And we'll be requesting Harris Beeran to also translate what we ask them and what they say for our audience. But before I ask Harris any questions, Mehnaz, hi. I'm seeing you smile after a long time, so that's nice to see. And seeing Raihanath smile after a long time, so it's really, really nice to see. Let me start with you, Harris. Your thoughts today. Chief Justice of India has reminded this country that everyone has a right to free speech. Siddique will be out soon. What is the first thing you'd like to say, sir?
See, Barkha, as you rightly pointed out, he was on a mission. He was on a journalistic mission. Now, what was slammed against him was UAPA Act. UAPA, various sections of the UAPA was invoked against him. The conditions of bail in UAPA is very, very stringent. Now, one of the conditions of the UAPA for grant of bail is that the prosecution story, which is being built up by the prosecution, should be prima facie, not convincingly true as far as the court is concerned. I'll just read that one particular line which says that the court is of the opinion that there are reasonable grounds for believing that the accusation against such person is prima facie not true. So that means that if the accusation is found to be not true by the court, then only and only then the court can set an accused free under the UAPA Act. Now, the fact that Siddique has been let out on bail today is a telltale story of the fact that the prosecution story which has been projected against Siddique is not prima facie true or not even convincing for the Supreme Court to believe that there is something remotely associated with this UAPA. The court rightly asked the prosecution as to what are the materials you are relying upon against Siddique. The material which they read out was a pamphlet which has been recovered. We are saying it was not recovered from him, but anyway, it has been recovered according to them from the car which he was traveling. And when the court read that pamphlet, they were so shocked, according to me, shocked their conscience, according to me, that they said that if this is the foundation of your prosecution theory, that foundation is so weak that we have to grant them bail. And that is the reason why when this particular thing was going on, when that particular instance was going on, the court was forced to comment that it is the right to protest and the Nirbhaya protest and all which happened in Delhi and all those things. So, according to me, the grant of bail is a prima facie exposure of that particular fact that there is nothing in this case. All the materials which they claim to be against Siddique Kappan is prima facie not tenable under law, at least under the UAPA Act. So that's a very welcome relief as far as the lawyers are concerned, as far as the case of Siddique Kappan is concerned.
I just want to speak in a moment to Raihanath and Mehnaz, his wife and daughter, but I have one more question for you, Harris. And that question is this. This is bail. This is not the final verdict. The charges, of course, are that he had material that links him to the Popular Front of India. You have denied those charges. In fact, the pamphlets were asking for justice for Hathras. Even in today's hearing, the UP government's advocates kept arguing that he was trying to incite a riot there. How are you going to counter this in court as the hearing proceeds forward? It's already been 2 years.
Absolutely. I think the right strategy we have to formulate in this case is that whether he wants to stand for trial or whether he wants to have a discharge petition. According to me, he should file a petition for discharge because there is no evidence whatsoever that the prosecution has put against him. It is just the PFI angle. They are saying PFI, PFI, PFI without any concrete evidence as to how you are linking this particular journalist to PFI, except for the fact that he had once upon a time been a reporter in Delhi for Tejas, which is apparently the mouthpiece of the PFI. There is nothing else to link Siddique Kappan with PFI. Now, they have actually annexed certain WhatsApp chats with one Mr. P. Koya, who was a managing editor of his Tejas. In that particular WhatsApp chat, which is in Malayalam, that's the reason maybe they have annexed this particular chat, WhatsApp chat, along with the counter affidavit. Siddique Kappan was telling this Koya that I am not in agreement with the ideology of Tejas. Personally, I am not in agreement. That itself is the story, because if he is not in agreement with the ideology of Tejas, that means he is not in agreement with the ideology of PFI. So that's a very crucial factor. I mean, there are lots of evidence which can be linked. Yes, Prabha, you're going ahead with something.
No, I'm saying I will have more questions on the charges made by the prosecuting agencies. But let me just get first reactions from Raihanath and Mehnaz, and I request you, Harris, to translate for us. Just if you can ask Raihanath, it's been 2 years. It must have been a very lonely battle in some ways for her. What kept her going?
2 വർഷമായിട്ടുള്ള ഈ ബാറ്റിൽ ഈ യുദ്ധമുണ്ടല്ലോ, ഇതെങ്ങനെയാണ് നിങ്ങൾ മുന്നോട്ട് കൊണ്ടുപോയിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്?
എനിക്ക് സിദ്ദീഖ് കപ്പൻ ഇസ് എ ഇന്നസെന്റ്, എ ജേർണലിസ്റ്റ്. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ എനിക്ക് സത്യാവസ്ഥ അറിയുന്നത് കൊണ്ടും ആണ് ഞാൻ ഇത് മുന്നോട്ട് കൊണ്ടുപോയത്. അതായത് കാപ്പൻ മാധ്യമ പ്രവർത്തകനാണ്. പിന്നെ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ അടുത്ത് ഒരു ഫാൾട്ടും ഇവർ പറഞ്ഞ പോലത്തെ ഒന്നുമില്ല എന്നുള്ളത് എനിക്ക് പൂർണ്ണ ബോധ്യമുള്ളത് കൊണ്ടാണ് ഞാൻ ഈ ഫൈറ്റിൽ മുന്നോട്ട് പോയിട്ടുള്ളത്. ഇതുവരെ തലയുയർത്തി പിടിച്ച് തന്നെ എനിക്ക് സിദ്ദീഖ് കപ്പന്റെ ഭാര്യയാണ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നതിൽ അഭിമാനത്തോടെ ഞാൻ പറയുള്ളൂ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞത് അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെയാണ്. ഇപ്പോ സുപ്രീം കോർട്ടിൽ എനിക്ക് നന്ദി പറയുന്നുണ്ട്. അതേപോലെ എൻ്റെ ലോയേഴ്സ് എല്ലാവരും ഉണ്ട്, അവരോട് എനിക്ക് നന്ദി. അതിന് കൂടെ നിന്ന എല്ലാ മീഡിയാസിനോടും സുഹൃത്തുക്കളോടും എനിക്ക് നന്ദിയുണ്ട്.
What she's saying, Barkha, is that Siddique Kappan has always been a very honest journalist. She was convinced about the fact that Siddique will not do anything wrong activities. And she was saying that she had always held her head high because of Siddique's professional attitude and activities, and that was the thing which the journey for the last 2 years. Although I am not a person who is very active in social field, but because of this, that prompted me to come to the social mainstream. Plus, she said that there were a lot of people who were there to support her. Both in the social stream as well as in the legal fraternity. So she is thanking those people, those social activists, lawyers, as well as she is thanking the Supreme Court also, which gave her justice as far as she is concerned.
One question for young Mehnaz, and I asked this question because she made a speech at her school on Independence Day that the whole country saw. What prompted Mehnaz to make that speech, in front of the school, in front of everybody? And did she prepare it herself? And what would she like to say today as a daughter?
Mehnaz Kappan ചോദ്യം, അന്ന് ഇൻഡിപെൻഡൻസ് ഡേക്ക് സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യത്തിന് മറ്റേ പ്രസംഗം പറഞ്ഞല്ല, അതിന് പ്രസംഗം പറയാനുള്ള പ്രചോദനം എന്തായിരുന്നു? ആരാണ് പ്രസംഗം ഉണ്ടാക്കി തന്നതെങ്കിൽ മെഹനാസ് സ്വന്തമായി പ്രസംഗം തന്നതാണ്. ഇന്നിപ്പോ എന്താ പറയേണ്ടത്? എന്താ പറയാനുള്ളത്?
എന്റെ ഉപ്പാനെ മെൻഷൻ ചെയ്യാതെ ഞാൻ എങ്ങനെ പ്രസംഗിക്കാം? എന്റെ ഉപ്പ ജയിലിൽ കിടക്കുന്നു. എനിക്ക് എന്ത് സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യം ഉള്ളത്? എന്റെ അമ്മ എഴുതി തന്നതാണ്.
What she is saying is that when her father is under prison, when he is not free, then what kind of freedom she has, what kind of freedom she can enjoy. So that is the one factor which prompted her to make that speech. And she made that speech with the help of her mother.
And how does she feel today, if you can ask Mehnaz?
ഇപ്പൊ എന്താ തോന്നുന്നത്? ഇന്നെന്താ തോന്നുന്നത് ഈ ജാമ്യം കിട്ടിയെന്നുള്ള രീതിയാണ് ശേഷം?
എനിക്ക് ഭയങ്കര ഹാപ്പി.
She is very happy today. What she is now what she is bothered about is that when can she meet her father?
So let me come back to you, Harris. The journal that Siddique Kappan worked for at one point, the PFI mouthpiece. How do you counter that? Because you have argued that he was simply a journalist on his way to Hathras, reporting a story like any other journalist. The Kerela Union of Journalists has also stood with him and spoken in his defense. But as the case goes forward, because the Supreme Court has not decided guilt or innocence, you're thinking of filing a discharge petition. You speak of how subsequently later he has disagreements on the ideology. How are you going to counter this allegation that comes repeatedly?
Barkha, you know one thing, after he left Tejas, he worked with several organizations. And one of the daily which he worked was Veekshanam, which is a Congress mouthpiece. So it is that, it's like a journalist who wants to get a better offer, he goes over there. That is the only connection which he has got with Tejas. When Tejas was there, he was working since 2009. He was transferred to Delhi in 2013. Since 2013, he has been in Delhi. Now, as part of Tejas, he must have been, and he will be in touch with a lot of leaders of that particular newspaper, which has got association with that organization. That and all the WhatsApp chats which you see are either forwards of news items. It is not that they are having a one-to-one personal chats or one-to-one chats which are so problematic in nature. So the very fact that his WhatsApp chats are innocent is a telltale story, because otherwise they would have just relied upon those WhatsApp chats to say that look at these WhatsApp chats, this is the kind of messages which have been forwarded by these guys or conveyed between these two guys, and this is how the conspiracy started. Now the prosecution does not have a story as to when the conspiracy started, what was his conspiracy for, what is the role of Siddique Kappan in this conspiracy. There is nothing of that sort. It is all vague. Now if the conspiracy started sometime in 2017, 18 or 19, why did they wait till 2020 October 5 to arrest him when he was on his way to Hathras? No answer to any of these things. And he was meeting this cab driver and another fellow in that car for the first time in his life over there. So all these bogies which they have been created have been demolished, can be demolished in trial or in the discharge petition, one after the other. So that is the reason why I don't want to get into the trial aspect right now, because that will be like exposing our arguments right now.
Yeah, but you do maintain that that he did not know about the people he took that ride with to Hathras. He did not know their backgrounds. He was just taking a lift. And secondly, even if he did work as a reporter for a mouthpiece associated with the PFI, that was in the past. And you're saying he left it over disagreements, and you have a WhatsApp trail that shows that. Am I summarizing you correctly, Harris?
No, he didn't leave because of the disagreements. He left because there was the company shut down sometime in 2018, and that was the reason why he left the company, the Tejas. It was on a disagreement. He said that in his chat with the managing editor, that personally I am not in ideological support of the Tejas Daily. So that was the word which is there in that WhatsApp chat. So it is actually a proof that he is not in an ideological support of the Tejas Daily, meaning thereby that he is not in ideological support of the PFI. Now, if he is going to be a PFI member or a PFI activist, surely there won't be any message of that sort. So therefore, this argument that because he has this WhatsApp chats with PFI, therefore he is the think tank of the PFI, or he is the one who is the main person behind this conspiracy, is a completely bogus argument according to me.
Raihanath, your husband has been booked under an anti-terror law. Effectively, he's been accused of having links with a terror group. And today also, the lawyer for the UP government, Mr. Jethmalani, repeated that argument in court. How do you deal with the fact that this is how he's been labeled, and how did you maintain contact with him over the last 2 years?
തീവ്രവാദ കേസിലാണ് തീവ്രവാദി എന്ന രീതിയിൽ മുദ്ര കുത്തിയിട്ടാണ് അദ്ദേഹത്തിനെ അറസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ളത്. അപ്പൊ അതിനെ നിങ്ങൾ എങ്ങനെയാണ് കാണുന്നത്? പിന്നെ കഴിഞ്ഞ 2 വർഷം മൂപ്പരായിട്ടുള്ള കോണ്ടാക്റ്റുകൾ എങ്ങനെയായിരുന്നു?
കാപ്പൻ തീവ്രവാദിയാണ് എന്നാണ് UP പോലീസ് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുള്ളത്. അതായത് അന്ന് മുതൽ അദ്ദേഹത്തെ അറസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്ത സമയത്തും തീവ്രവാദി എന്ന് പറയാനുള്ള തെളിവുകളല്ല അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ അടുത്ത് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നത്. അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ അത് പ്രസ് കാർഡായിരുന്നു. ആ സമയത്ത് അറസ്റ്റ് സമയത്ത് പ്രസ് കാർഡ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അതേപോലെ KUWJ യൂണിയൻ സെക്രട്ടറി ആണ് എന്നറിയാഞ്ഞിട്ടല്ല അവർ തീവ്രവാദിയാക്കി വെച്ചിട്ടുള്ളത്. എല്ലാ തെളിവുകളും അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ അടുത്ത് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അദ്ദേഹം അതെല്ലാം പോലീസിന് കൊടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. എന്നിട്ടും അതെല്ലാം മറച്ചു വെച്ചിട്ട്, അതേപോലെ അഴിമുഖത്തിൽ ജോസി സാറുമായിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കാൻ, അന്ന് ആ അറസ്റ്റ് സമയത്ത് ജോസി സാറുമായിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കാൻ ഫോൺ കൊടുത്തപ്പോൾ ജോസി സാർ ഒരു ക്രിസ്ത്യൻ ആണ് എന്ന് കണ്ടതോടെ അവരത് മൈൻഡ് ചെയ്യാതെ വിട്ടുകയാണ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ളായിരുന്നു. ഒരു മുസ്ലിം പേരാണ് എന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അത് ഉപയോഗിക്കാമെന്നും അതല്ലാന്ന് കണ്ടതോടെ അന്ന് ആ അറസ്റ്റ് സമയത്ത് അങ്ങനെ പലതും ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. പക്ഷെ തീവ്രവാദിയാണ് എന്ന ഇവിടെ 2011 മുതൽ സിദ്ദീഖ ഇവിടെ ഡൽഹിയിലാണ് വർക്ക് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്. ആദ്യം തേജസ്സിലായിരുന്നു വർക്ക് ചെയ്തിരുന്നത്. അതേപോലെ തന്നെ പിന്നെ തത്സമയം പത്രത്തിലായിരുന്നു. ഈ സമയത്തൊക്കെ സുപ്രീം കോടതി വാർത്തകളായിരുന്നു അദ്ദേഹം കൊടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നത്. അതിനുശേഷമാണ് അവസാനം ഈ അറസ്റ്റ് സമയത്ത് അഴിമുഖം വെബ് പോർട്ടലിൽ അദ്ദേഹം വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നിരുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ അതിനിടയിൽ ഒരു തീവ്രവാദി ഇവിടെയുള്ള അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ മാധ്യമ സുഹൃത്തുക്കൾക്ക് കാപ്പൻ ആരാണെന്നും മാധ്യമ വാർത്തകൾ മാത്രമേ ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ളൂ എന്നുള്ളതും വ്യക്തമായിട്ട് അറിയാൻ പറ്റും. ഇവര് ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഇത് വെച്ച് UAPA ഇട്ട് കാരണങ്ങൾ അവർക്ക് പല ഉദ്ദേശങ്ങളുണ്ടാവും. പക്ഷെ അദ്ദേഹം തീവ്രവാദിയല്ല, മാധ്യമപ്രവർത്തകനാണ് എന്ന ഉറച്ച വിശ്വാസം എനിക്കുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. കാപ്പൻ സംസാരിക്കുന്ന ഈ ഒരു 2 വർഷത്തിനിടക്ക് ആദ്യത്തെ 45 ദിവസം അദ്ദേഹം ജീവനോടെ ഉണ്ടോന്ന് പോലും ഞങ്ങൾ ഫാമിലിക്ക് അറിയില്ലായിരുന്നു. അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ ഉമ്മ വയസ്സായി 85-90 വയസ്സായ ഉമ്മ പിന്നെ ഇഞ്ചിഞ്ചായിട്ട് വേദനിച്ച് മരിച്ചാണ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ളത്. എൻ്റെ മകൻ എന്ത് സംഭവിച്ചു എന്നറിയാതെ മനം ആകെ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഷോക്കിലാണ് ഉമ്മ മരിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളത്. ആ ഒരു ഷോക്കിൽ കാപ്പനാകെ ഡിപ്രഷനിലേക്ക് പോയി. ഉമ്മ എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ അത്രയും ജീവനായിട്ടുള്ള ഉമ്മാനെ കാണാൻ കൂടി പറ്റിയിട്ടില്ലായിരുന്നു. മരിച്ചിട്ട് പോലും മയ്യത്ത് പോലും കാണാൻ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് സാധിച്ചില്ല. അങ്ങനെ ഒരുപാട് ഓരോ ഘട്ടത്തിലും ഒരുപാട് പ്രശ്നങ്ങളിലൂടെ പോയിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിലും ഞാൻ തെറ്റുകാരനല്ല എന്ന ഉറച്ച ബോധ്യമുള്ളതുകൊണ്ടും കാപ്പൻ പല പ്രതിസന്ധികളിലും അദ്ദേഹം ഉറച്ചു നിന്നു. പല ആരോഗ്യ പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ അദ്ദേഹത്തിനുണ്ട്. ഷുഗർ പേഷ്യൻ്റ് ആണ്, അതേപോലെ കൊളസ്ട്രോൾ ഉള്ള വ്യക്തിയാണ്. അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് ഞാൻ അവസാനമായിട്ട് കണ്ട സമയത്ത് ആരോഗ്യം വളരെ മോശമാണ്. അതായത് ഒരു എല്ലും തോലുമായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു അവസ്ഥയിലാണ് ഉള്ളത്. ആരോഗ്യം വളരെ മോശമാണ്. പക്ഷെ ആ സമയത്തൊക്കെ ഞാൻ കാണുന്ന സമയത്ത്, ഞാൻ ഫോൺ ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയത്ത് ഒരിക്കൽ പോലും എൻ്റെ വിഷമങ്ങളോ എൻ്റെ വീട്ടിലെ ഒന്നും ഞാൻ പറയില്ല. ഏറ്റവും പോസിറ്റീവായിട്ടായിരുന്നു കാപ്പൻ ഞാൻ നിന്ന് കൊടുത്തിരുന്നത്, സംസാരിച്ചിരുന്നത്. എല്ലാ പോസിറ്റീവ് ഭാഗങ്ങളും സംസാരിച്ചുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഞങ്ങൾ ഓരോ സമയത്തും നിന്നിരുന്നത്.
Barkha, I'm not a professional translator. It's been no.
I'm sorry. You can just give us the gist of it. Yeah.
What she says is that, see, as far as a terror angle is concerned, and he being dubbed as a terrorist, she said that she's not bothered about it. She's not worried about it because of the fact that Siddique Kappan has been in Delhi for the past almost 10 years, and all his journalist colleagues over here knows the kind of work he has put in. Particularly, he was covering courts, Supreme Court, and everything. So therefore, everybody knows the kind of work he has put in, and plus he was the office bearer of Kerela Union of Working Journalists in Delhi. He was a secretary of that particular organization. So that way, nobody has a finger pointed against Kappan about his professional dedication. So therefore, she said she is not worried about the fact that people are stamping him as a journalist. Secondly, she said that once he was arrested over there in Hathras, there were a lot of phone calls which he had made, and one of the phone calls was to his present employer, one Joshi, who is the editor-in-chief of Aribukam web portal, where he personally worked at that point of time. But then they were not very much interested, because on hearing a Christian name, according to her, the police was not very much interested in getting further details of this Joshi. So. And then she goes into this how the interaction with Kappan was in the last 2 years. What she says is that for the first 45 days, they didn't have any information as to where Kappan is, what is the situation over there, whether he is dead or whether he is alive. All those things were not even informed to them. Then his mother was in a very, very precarious health condition, and he was very much attached to his mother. His mother did not know what is the condition of his son. Son did not know what the condition of the mother was. So all this, it was a traumatic phase for her, and she never ever conveyed this to Siddique Kappan as to these are the problems which we are facing at home, the financial distress, the condition of the mother. Nothing was conveyed to Kappan because she wanted Kappan to be in the right spirit. Although he is a person of lot of health issues, fragile body, and all those things and all. So therefore, she wanted to have Kappan in the right spirit. So she was the one who was managing the entire thing, and that is how this last 2 years went away, according to her.
Okay. Not to take more of your time, Harris, in translating. So just a last question to Mehnaz, and then I'll close with a final question to you. For Mehnaz as a young child, this must be quite scarring. At school, when she made that speech in asking for justice for her father, were children kind, or were they also mean? Did she have to face questions about, her father facing charges of terrorism? How is she coped with this last year?
മറ്റേ മെനാസിന്റെ അടുത്താണ് സ്കൂളിൽ ഈ പ്രസംഗമൊക്കെ നടത്തുന്ന സമയത്ത് സ്കൂളിൽ കൂട്ടുകാരുണ്ടല്ലോ, കൂട്ടുകാരെന്താ പറയണത്, കൂട്ടുകാർ നിങ്ങളുടെ അടുത്ത് പറയുന്ന സാരില്ല വരും, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ വല്ല കൂട്ടുകാർ നിങ്ങളെ പറയണ്ട നിങ്ങൾക്ക് നന്നായി പോയി അങ്ങനെ പറയുന്ന കൂട്ടുകാരുണ്ടാന്ന് ചോദിക്കുന്നത്.
നല്ല സപ്പോർട്ട്
ചെയ്യുന്ന ആൾക്കാരാണ് കൂട്ടുകാരാണ്, ടീച്ചേഴ്സും.
So what she's saying is that her friends as well as teachers were in complete support of her.
And does she want to be a journalist like her father?
വളർന്നു വലുതായിട്ട് എന്താണ് ആവേണ്ടത്, ഉപ്പാനെ പോലെ ഒരു പത്രക്കാരനാവണോ?
വക്കീലാവാൻ.
She wants to be a vakil.
I got that. That part I got. That part I didn't need translation for. And is it her father's case that's made her want to be a lawyer? Is it seeing what happened to her father that's made her want to be a lawyer?
ഈ ഉപ്പാടെ ഈ കേസിന്റെ സംഗതികളെ കണ്ടിട്ടാണ് ഈ വക്കീലാവാൻ താല്പര്യമുള്ളതെന്ന് ചോദിക്കുന്നത്. Yes.
Well,
എന്നോട് പറഞ്ഞത് ഒന്നും കൂടി പ്രചോദനായിരുന്നു.
What she's saying that we briefed Mrs. Sibal yesterday online, virtually, and she was watching that very keenly. So she told her mother after that she is quite encouraged by that briefing and the kind of questions which Mr. Sibal put in that meeting.
Well, out of these dark shadows comes a young girl's aspiration for justice, for equity, to have a profession. I'll end with you, Harris. At the moment, this is not done. It's Siddique Kappan will have to spend, I think, 6 weeks in Delhi. There's also an enforcement directorate case. You still have to get the actual charge. Him exonerated. What are you going to focus on in the next few days?
Let him be out on bail first. Let him be relaxed at his hometown in Kerela. This case is not going to start, according to me, right now at any point of time, because the charge sheet has been filed. No charge has been framed yet. They have got 100 reasons to say that there is why we can't frame a charge. So only after the charge is framed, we can go either for a discharge petition or let the trial be started. Now that is one reason why, according to me, they actually wanted to put these guys behind bars, because they know that this is the only time where they'll get them behind bars. Once they're out, the charges are so weak, the charge sheet is so weak that it won't stand trial. So that is the only purpose for them to have kept these persons behind bars. So according to me, let him be out. Let him go to Kerala and to his hometown and breathe fresh air over there, and then I think we can take it from there.
Well, Harris, Beeran, it's a day to savor. It's been a tough 2 years. To Raihanath and Mehnaz, thank you. I'm very delighted to hear that Mehnaz wants to be a lawyer. I wish the circumstances in which she found that aspiration were better, but well, silver lining to these clouds. All the best to you, Mehnaz, and Harris, Beeran. Thank you, Raihanath. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support